Something very, very rare has happened today. I've made the objective decision to take a rest day. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think I had like some sort of stomach bug or something. Cause like I don't know if you watched yesterday's video about how like I woke up and I felt like I had to puke. Same thing happened on Saturday, but I'm like, ain't nothing gonna stop me from going skating. Mama ain't raised no bitch. Which is usually how I am until I'm like, all right, Dillon, that is true. However, it's actually more beneficial if you just chill out, you know, which is what I'm gonna do today. I have a vacation coming up on Saturday. Soon I'll do a video on what my diet, basically how I eat on vacation in order to not blow up. But that's besides the point. We'll get there. But today I want to talk about the importance of rest. Even though I have a resentment towards rest days, sometimes they're the most beneficial thing that I can do. Sometimes they're the most beneficial thing that anybody can do. Now I wouldn't say take a rest day streak. I know some people who take a rest week. A rest week, ooh, yeah, that just sounds like you want to take a week off. That doesn't sound like you're locked in. I've never taken more than 2 rest days in a row because, well, if you take your rest days properly, there's no need. Yesterday, you probably saw on my Instagram, I came home and I hit chest. I just did a bunch of push-ups. Now, should I have done that? Was it optimal for muscle growth? No, I probably should have taken the rest day yesterday. But yesterday was a long day, and doing those push-ups kind of, well, you read the caption on my Instagram. It says, sometimes the lift is just for peace of mind. And that's exactly what it was for. But last night, I got some optimal sleep. I slept from 11 to 8. Went to bed early, got an extra hour. Woke up, and we're still sore. And I was like, damn. My chest is sore, my shoulders are sore, my abs are sore, my legs are sore, my feet are sore. Yesterday at work, my feet were cramping, probably because I go to the rink and skate 6 hours on the regular. And I probably should have taken my rest day sooner, but from where I came from, I'm sure you can understand my logic. Because I was actually talking to somebody else at the rink. Shoot, man. If you're watching this and you see my content, comment your name. You're pretty chill. My God. I'm a server, so I'm good with faces, bad with names. I'm sorry. It takes like 3 interactions before your name is locked in, The gym is the trickiest because, like, everybody in the gym is just like, bro, literally. Like, hey, bro, hey, like very rarely does somebody come up to me and say, hey, Dillon. It's always, hey, bro, you done with this machine? Hey, bro, can you record this for me? So it gets a little tricky. But back to what I was talking about. I was chatting with him at the rink, and he's a figure skater, fucking shit up in the black figure skates. He was doing hella cool jumps and shit, doing hella spins. And he came up to me, he's like, hey, I see your content. It's always showing up on my feed on Instagram. And I was like, yes. Anytime I hear that, I'm like, yes. What I'm doing is working. It's working. I need to go out in public more. just so I can see if I get recognized. Because one time when I went to Discount Tire, that one time I got recognized. Great feeling. Thing is I'm a busy person. I don't have time to, unless I'm going to the gym, and going to work, or going to the skate rink. Then I'm at home editing videos, doing chores, mowing grass, etc. You know, I don't really have a lot of time for leisurely activities. Now you could say skating is a leisurely activity, which it is, but something that's a part of my life, just like going out and drinking is a part of some people's life. But anyway, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. But the guy I was talking to, he also went on his own weight loss journey, lost 120 pounds. You know, anytime I talk to somebody else who's lost in the triple digits, I'm always appalled, and I'm always intrigued and interested in their process as well, because, well, I don't meet a lot of people like me. You know, I don't meet a lot of people who have also gone on a crazy weight loss transformation like that. You know, and the topic of loose skin came up, and he actually got his removed, which I was like, I didn't know you could do that. Now, am I going to remove my loose skin? At this point, to me, it's not a concern. Maybe if I get an acting role or a modeling casting where loose skin's not ideal, sure. You know, the loose skin, it doesn't bother me. Now, am I like, fuck yeah, look at all the loose skin? No, you know, but like it's just something where I'm like, it is what it is. I have it. Like when I'm standing, just regular. You know what? I'll probably do a reel one day and show you guys what it looks like. Like if I'm sitting down like this, it kind of like folds over my waistband. But if I lean back, it's gone. It's so weird. If I lean to this like this way, you'll see it collect right here. If I lean this way, it'll collect. I'm trying to think of like a good example. I think the best example I can give is just to show you guys. But I'll do a short on that. Anyway, I'm always intrigued about like when I meet others who do the same thing that I do. Because, well, like I just said, not a lot of people do it. And we kind of got on the subject of like what it's like. You know, I was kind of telling them, yeah, one of my favorite parts is just feeling like gravity disappeared. You know, I'd wake up some mornings and I'd be like, whoa, I feel like I'm on the moon. I feel like I'm moonwalking here. I feel so light. And the craziest part is I was only down 50 pounds at some of those points, meaning that I had another 80 to go, which kept me going, because I was like, dude, if I lost 50 pounds and I already feel like I'm walking on the fucking moon, then imagine what I'm going to feel like when I lose a whole 130. And now that I've lost a whole 130, I feel weightless, you know? Like I remember the first time I was like, you know what, let's try pull up, you know? I was always somebody who like just holding on was a struggle. Throughout my weight loss journey, I never really attempted pull-ups until one day where I was like, you know what? I'm about 180. I can lat pull down 170. Let's just see what I can do. And then my favorite grip is neutral grip, so I was like, we'll start there. So I grabbed the neutral grip handles on the pull-up bar, and my chin went right above the bar. You know, it's like, whoa. You know, it was one of my favorite epiphanies amongst many, amongst many. And another thing we talked about, which isn't, well, shit, I forgot what I was going to say. But another thing we talked about was how people treat you differently after your transformation. You know? Like, all of a sudden, after I lost 130 pounds, I was a more interesting person, whether people realized my transformation or not. You know, because I worked in the service industry throughout my transformation, and I could tell I started getting different vibes from the guests in the restaurant. You know, and then like I remember one day, I was just walking towards my section, and I was walking past a row of booths, and every single head turned and looked at me as I walked past the booths. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. This has never happened to me before. All of a sudden, it's like I'm the center of attention. And I didn't really know how to react, you know? And I didn't really understand it at first either, until I realized that, well, whether they knew what I had or had achieved or not, they wanted what I had and had achieved. It's one of the strangest paradoxes that I've ever experienced. The fact that people really do. Have you ever heard of pretty privilege? Well, after I lost my first 100 pounds, that's when I started to realize that pretty privilege is a thing. I would do the same things that I would do when I was fat, and I would get a completely different reaction. One of my favorites is like people, like if I was eating something at work, when I was fat, people would kind of look at me like, of course he is. Of course he's eating a fucking quesadilla. You know, even if they didn't say it, I'd feel that vibe. And then when I would do the same thing when I was skinny, people would come up to me like, oh, how do you eat that and stay so skinny? And I'd always laugh, because I'm like, you have no idea what I did to get to this point. You know, me eating this quesadilla is merely a glimpse of the story. It's just the title. Just the title. You haven't even opened the first page of my book. You know? But that's all I got for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace out.